Don, hello, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm very well, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure to see you again.
No, mate, the pleasure's all mine. I knew as soon as I needed to get someone to do with what we're about to talk about on, it had to be you, man. Like the goat in the infosec world. You're speaking at all of these events. You're doing all of this stuff. You are the go-to guy, right?
I've got lucky, and for some reason, people actually want to listen to me, which so I don't. It's a bit weird.
No luck, mate. No luck whatsoever. Hey, just quickly before we start, just a quick disclaimer. Obviously, we work together at JM. I've seen you in action. I know how good you are. This isn't just a LinkedIn influencer that we found. This is someone who actually genuinely knows their stuff in the infosec IT security world. And I asked a non-techie friend of mine what they think someone in your role would do, and they said internet police.
Okay.
Internet police and stopping the bad guys on the computers. So,
Yeah, a defined bad guy.
well, this is where my question was going to go. So, Don Gibson, as a well-renowned, experienced CISO who's done hard-hitting interviews, are you the internet police?
Um, uh, am I allowed the fifth on this one?
Yeah.
Am I the internet? Technically, yes. In some ways, I'll expand. So, the CISO is generally the corporate anti-hacker. We're the ones looking after the ones and the zeros, the information, the data, the this, that, and the other, and therefore we put in controls to protect the corporate data, the machines, the systems, the this, that, and the other. And that also enables us to enact certain requirements that other people put on us. So, for example, if HR turned around to us and said, we want to stop people from accessing gun sites, for example,
Wow. Yep.
then we are able to, most of us will have some kind of system on the internet that where an awful lot of sites are categorized inside these systems, and we can click a box and say no guns. We do
Right.
the same thing with say adult entertainment or illicit drugs or the dark web or anything else like that, hate speech, things like that. We're able to do so. In that way, that does make us the internet police. In other ways, so one of the reasons that tend to have a kind of a short shelf life is that we're actively trying to help the world and save the world, and that's a huge amount. So, for example, we'll all have teams where people will be looking for problems or looking for issues, threat hunters, vulnerability hunters, things like that. And with that, we'll find stuff that's wrong. We will then work with the supplier of the item that's wrong, and they will then release something to say, please patch this. This has been found X, Y, Z. So that's another string. So the fact that we're always on the lookout to how to fix things, how to help things, how to move us, a general collective of people forward safely.
So you mentioned there about CISOs having a short shelf life.
Difficult to
Easy for
say,
me to
isn't
say.
it?
It is. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. But is that kind of, is that simply because you get to a point within an organisation when you go, right, we've implemented a lot of controls, policy, tools. We're proactively securing our organisation, our data, our systems, our software, our hardware, etc. Do you get to the point where it's, dare I say, a bit boring because you've done all of that and you feel like you need to go elsewhere and start that process again? Or is it simply just because it is quite a high pressure job, isn't it?
That it's more number two than number one. So there's also a third one where so the first one, every day is different. Every day is different, and I've been in cybersecurity for 23 years now, and I can honestly say
You
every
don't
day.
look old enough, Don. Don't look old enough.
So there's always something to do. There's always something to, and if you got tired doing something, you're always able to pivot and do something else or whatever else. I mean, our sector is huge of
Yeah.
the everything that you can do within there. The second one is, and it's one of the things that I talk about, is CISO burnout and mental health and adaptability and things like that. What it boils down to is that we're continually looking for risk and threat. And just using those words releases a tiny bit of the precursor to adrenaline inside the brain. And so therefore, an awful lot of people in cyber are not so much on edge, but they continually have some kind of stress hormone within them, and the ability to shut off and do something else sometimes isn't there. So people will naturally kind of burn out, go elsewhere, do something else, this, that, and the other, instead of kind of having open conversations, talking about things and trying to look after ourselves. And then the final one is, have you actually done all that you want to do in the company? Has someone else started talking to you about potentially doing something else? I do a lot of transformation pieces, for example, building teams from scratch. And so therefore, when I've built a team from scratch and the team is running and whatever else, do I continue the journey or do I go elsewhere? Has someone else started talking to me? So I think
that's very similar to me, to be honest, because it gets to a point where, I mean, ITAM is kind of, there's less of that career path within an organization as there is for you guys, because you have that C-level seat at the table. We don't, right? We always end up in procurement or finance, etc. But you get to a point where you've implemented so much, you've done all of the low-hanging fruit, the process are in, the tools are in. And like you said, it's kind of just a bit like, what next? You know, there is that kind of that burnout, that fatigue on going, I don't really know where the next step up is. You know, we're doing our audits, we're doing this, we're doing that. There's no, you know, leap forward. And I guess, this is very similar for you then. It's a case of, you go in, make a difference, make the you know, bang the world to rights in that organization, and then get that kind of fatigue and naturally try and look to help someone else. Because security, infosec, IT security, information security, it is a huge, like you said, a huge area, but it's also a very attractive area at the moment. Whenever you look at graduates and universities and what's a great career choice, you see so much about IT security and how important it is now, but how important it's going to be moving forward as well. So for someone like you with all of that experience, that have seen all of that change, I get that transformational piece, because that's what gets me going as well. I love going in, making a difference, moving on. Do you know what I mean? It's keeps it fresh.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I honestly say the greatest amount of information a CISO or someone senior in security learns from is moving company. Because you're rediscovering, it's like, where are the strings of power needing to be pulled? How do things fit together? What are the systems? What are the skeletons in the cupboards? What have we got going? What projects are existing here? How can I actually start making a change and start making an impact sooner rather than later? Because, I mean, if you're looking at kind of a multi-year project around digital transformation, for example, it's like, congratulations, you've joined halfway through this 3-year project.
Great.
So I've completely missed the planning stage where the whole secure by design piece needs to be in. So how do I join from there? So it's a lot of fun. I absolutely love my job.
You can tell. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why, I wanted to speak to you, just going back to that burnout and mental health element, because another thing with you personally that I see on LinkedIn a lot is, the cybersecurity, IT security gets a lot of, it's the sexy industry to go in within IT. But then on the flip side of that, whenever anything bad happens, it's straight headline news. And whenever anything happens, you're always very quick on LinkedIn to go, hold on, the headlines are there, fine, whatever. But remember, there are humans that are behind this. This might have been a human mistake, or an infosec team that have done everything that they could to avoid this, but hadn't got to. You've got that human element of it at the forefront of your mind. And, whenever you see these headlines, people are so quick on social media and LinkedIn to, start pointing fingers and, their team's rubbish, they haven't got these, parameters in place. And it is I can only imagine how stressful it is, because if I get something wrong, it might be ordering too many software licenses or the wrong hardware model. No headlines. It's irrelevant. You can sort it out. Whereas if something happens in your world, like we had all of the issues last year as well, I won't reference names, but we all know what we're talking about. It's global news. Like the stress and the pressure. And you have to remember, there are humans like you who are doing that and trying to help that organization. It's not your fault. You haven't gone out to miss something, have you? It's
or even, I mean, if it's the tool that I'm thinking of that was a worldwide thing, that wasn't even the cyber thing. That's a software engineering thing. It happens to be a cyber tool, and therefore,
yeah,
it's a cyber problem. It's like, no, that's a software engineering thing. That's a release thing, and quite frankly, that's a software development lifecycle. So yeah, there's lots of fun on that one, and I do feel sorry for them. But I've got to say kudos to their CEO who stood up and received a somewhat tongue-in-cheek award, and he took it in the best possible manner.
what award was that? If it was tongue in cheek,
All I will say is have a little YouTube experience. But no, he in fact, hats off to him. And we're now touching on kind of incident response and incident communication and the like. He did really well, so either he did really well, or the team that briefed him through that did really well, because it showed humility. It showed he was willing to show his face, wasn't hiding, etc., etc. And stood up, took it on the chin, and didn't make a joke of it. Just went, actually, no, this is being displayed so everyone can remember that we have to do better, etc. So, yeah.
and what kind of internal support do your teams in InfoSec get in the event of a data breach or headline news? Like, is there like an internal support system where it's like, okay, yeah, we're in the headlines, but we know it's not your fault. Let's all work together, try and remediate it. Is there that kind of environment for InfoSec professionals?
It depends on the company, the size of the company, and the plans that are in place already. So if you're kind of a small, medium company, such as my company, Kinley, who do, we're world leading in secure global audiovisual systems. Thank you for the plug. We have certain companies on call, so we obviously have an internal team, but we have disaster response on call. Larger companies will have far more integrated systems and capabilities. But for me, there's people on call. We have playbooks. We've got tests, etc. And people know their role and know what they need to do. Other places I've been at that did hit the news, we didn't have that. It wasn't a particular failing. It just, we hadn't got there yet. Hence the conversation or the post that I put out there. When things do go wrong, things do go wrong. It happens. We are humans. We fail. We fail on a daily basis, and that's absolutely fine. It's learning and it's supporting, and that's what really helps. So, as long as you've either learned by your mistakes. I mean, the way I view it is there are three types of people in the world. There are people that learn by their mistakes. They're normal. They're people who don't learn by their mistakes. They're stupid. And then you've got smart people. Smart people learn by other people's mistakes. And that's I try to be a smart person.
Okay, interesting. So with being a smart person and learning from other people's mistakes in the InfoSec space and cybersecurity space, like when a lot of it's so like locked down, isn't it? People don't really want to admit how certain things have happened. How are you, like, are you just doing research? Are you like reading things, talking to people? How are you learning and understanding what other people's mistakes were so that you can learn from it?
There are a number of ways around it. So the big incidents tend to have write-ups by external
Ah,
companies
okay.
about them. So there are companies such as Recorded Futures and the like who will put out briefing papers on what
Right.
they believe to have happened. I give that name because in the big one that I was involved with that hit the news, Recorded Futures were good enough to reach out to me during the incident to say, this is what we're going to write about you. And I went, that's just not accurate. And they went, thank you very much. We'll scrap
Oh,
that.
wow.
And so it's that kind of honesty was just brilliant. Obviously, you're never going to know the true ins and outs, but there are things that you'll be able to see in the press or see in public or from the notes or press releases that the company themselves put out. They'll say X has happened. So
Yeah.
and give advice and whatever else. And over time, things will come out. Some things come out. Some things will never come out. It's absolutely fine. It's just a case of seeing and hearing, and then just applying or thinking, how would this work? Run
Yeah.
through in your brain. If X happened to me, what would be the next step?
It's crazy. You always hit the headlines when things go wrong, but when things go right, which is like 99% of the time, nothing. Not
It's
even a good job. It's just a nothing.
It's nothing, and it's why I feel so bad for technology, and especially people like the service desk. So,
Yeah.
big shout out to the service desk peeps. It's where I started in my life. Yeah, basically, you're either being shouted at because something's wrong, or you're ignored because everything's right. And yeah, it's not a great dynamic with that
No.
one.
Yeah. Shout out to my pops as well. When I first started in IT, he said, no one will ever thank you for things being stable or going right. You'll only hear people moaning on the rare occasions that IT goes wrong. And it's absolutely right. It's no one ever comes up to IT and says, yeah, we've not had any data breaches, or yeah, my laptop's running really well. Thank you
Well,
guys. It's no, it's when something goes wrong, bang, 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 sort it out.
exactly.
It's a thankless kind of area, really, isn't it? Because marketing, they get like a big glow up if a campaign goes really well and they've done colouring in correctly. I'm joking, marketing people. I know you do more than colouring in. Finance can save money. Technology, IT, no, no kudos for if things going well. Just yeah, that luck of the
unless
draw when things are going bad.
unless projects and whatever else, then quite rightly too. And it's one of the things that I always try to make sure that if a project has been delivered, then there is a celebration about it.
Nice,
There's
yeah, I love that. Show about your
what to
successes.
do.
So, but that's a really key area and something I think as information security grows and keeps becoming so important to organisations. I think that mental health element of it, that support network, is something that definitely needs to be looked at because, like I said, if something happens in ITAM, it doesn't really matter. If someone else in another part of the business makes a small mistake, it could end up not meaning anything. Whereas with you guys, unfortunately, the headlines of it do sometimes make industry news, national news, or global news. So I think that
Yeah,
organisations definitely need to think about that. It could never happen, but if it did happen, how are you going to support the human beings behind those headlines and what's going on? Because no
yeah.
one wants to do their job badly, right? No one wants to be a front page news.
No, no, you don't. Which is one of there's one gentleman out there who I worked with for effectively a day,
All right.
and yeah, I know. And he was like, "Where's this story going?" So it was about week 2 into the Travelex attack, and he called me up and went, "Are you guys having a really bad time?" And I was like, "Yes." And he went, "Anything you need from my team, it's yours." And I was nearly in tears.
Wow. Just
They
that reaching out.
just reaching out. I mean, he was the head of cyber at the National Lottery. So all the toys, a really good team, this, that, and the other. And he just turned around and went, anything you need is yours. And at that point, I basically swore fealty to that man. Anything he needs, anything at any time, I'm there. So
Yeah, that's what you need. I guess you must have like regardless of what organisation you're in, you must have that peer-to-peer network
yeah,
anyway, that support network, right? Especially within your
we
fellow
do.
CISOs and stuff.
There are a number of cabals out there of CISOs where we do very openly talk about things and give each other heads up and etc. etc. So if you're a CISO and listening to this and not part of that, find one. They're out there.
Yeah, love that. Going back, I've said you said earlier about how you've been in cybersecurity for 20 odd years, which is nigh on impossible. I mean, you've only just turned 30, so that's seems like you're working when you shouldn't be
Stone,
working.
maybe 30 stone got there.
But what have you seen that's changed? Because I can imagine, even when I started in IT in 2008, I've seen a huge change. So what kind of changes have you seen in that time within cybersecurity? I mean, AI, I doubt was the thing back then, was it?
Well, let's go back to the old school. I can remember people sending each other EXEs in email to run things like the Santa lights or Santa walking across the bottom of the screen, or you click on it and it would go, "Hey everyone, I'm watching porno over here," or things like that. And it was so innocent, and it was just lovely and naive. And then now we go to the fact that the whole Melissa virus, the I love you virus, in 2002. 2001 maybe.
Wait, what's this Melissa virus?
So there was a virus that really ran roughshod through the world. I think it's 2001. I might be wrong. But basically, what it did is it got into the global address book and sent a message saying "I love you" to the first 100 people in that address book or something. And when that got into corporations, that was normally distribution lists first. And it just went, so you can understand how nuts it went. And
Just said I love you, is that it?
That was it. I love you. And it was a love letter from the guy who wrote it to his girlfriend, if I remember. And it just went nuts. And at which point people realised, hold on, this stuff can be weaponised. And yes, there was stuff out there beforehand, but then it goes on. And so if we go from there, kind of leapfrog years to the Stuxnet virus or Stuxnet malware, which is an amazing piece of kit from the Five Eyes, somewhere in the Five Eyes. We think it's USA and Israel, maybe. And they're the ones that blew up the centrifuges in the Iranian weapons system. And apparently the sound card inside these machines was playing Highway to Hell as these machines blew up. And just sitting there going, how did they do this? And then going forward to now where people expect to have biometrics on their phones or on their machines. They expect to have multi-factor authentication of banking apps. They use biometrics to set up new payments or acknowledge payments. There's 2FA this, there's this, that and the other. People are using AI far too much. And the fact that AI now exists both in a very negative format, as in attacking, but also in a positive format in defending. So basically you have machine attacking, machine defending. So it's everything like that. So how that has changed in my working lifetime alone is crazy. And it only seems to be increasing.
Yeah, and obviously it's the 25th anniversary of the Y2K.
I remember working that.
Yeah, I
I,
remember my
I
dad working that, and like all the nervousness, and like New Year's Eve 1999, and like
it's
not knowing, like not being 100% sure what was going to. It's like we think we're ready, we
yeah.
think we're okay, but we just don't know.
Yeah, just don't know for sure. Yeah, I can remember building token ring LANs and manually winding clocks forward on machines to see what software did.
That's that's mad. Are we going to ever have anything like that again, or was that like a one in a lifetime issue?
For dates, I'm not aware of anything coming up or potentially showing. The big one was when the Russians attacked the Ukrainians, and the tool that was used to destroy Active Directory got out in the wilds. That was the NotPetya virus, or NotPetya malware. And if you look at things like Maersk, who basically only survived because they'd accidentally got a backup of their Active Directory in some kind of shack in South Africa. I may be paraphrasing, it may just be kind of like a data center in South Africa or something, but they literally flew private planes down with an armed guard to get this thing back so they could actually recover their company. Things like that. So we're seeing things like this, and things like that are happening out there. It's what actually does hit, or are we going further? Did we learn from NotPetya? The fact that we haven't seen any ridiculous cyber tool come running roughshod out of the last few years with Russia and Ukraine would suggest that we learned that lesson. But what else is there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, what's your biggest worry for the immediate future, like as in the next 12, 24, 36 months? Like what do you think's the biggest worry? And then longer term, do you see AI being a bigger threat, as it, like you said, it's machine attacking machine? If we don't have any kind of control or governance over it, like a lot of governments are actually saying, could that be used in, like, you mentioned about people learning how that email virus could be used in terms of warfare side of things? It could be weaponized. Do you
I
see
mean,
that happening?
it already is weaponized, but I mean, sometimes my crystal ball looks more like a magic 8 ball. So kind of shake it and go, come back later or something. But what am I more concerned about? I'm more concerned about the political, economic, geopolitical and economic events that are going on. We're seeing more and more people become closer and closer to being destitute, being without, and that's when desperation sets in,
Right.
and that's when bad things occur. So, I would like to see for those. Okay, if I was made emperor of the world, I would say that there are no billionaires at all. You get to 999 million or whatever it is, and you can't go any further. Congratulations, you'll have a library and maybe a dog park named after you, or maybe we'll kind of put your name on an island or something, and everything else goes into a better form of social care. I'm not saying about increasing life expectancy or the like, because we're destroying this planet already. Therefore, more or longer human lives ain't going to help. Therefore, how to actually live in a far more symbiotic relationship with our one and only planet, to stop warmongering, to stop bickering over whose religion is better or the like. That's what I would prefer to see.
And how from an infosec perspective, like where do you see that playing a role in supporting that? Like, because you said earlier again about how the guy sent a love letter, and yeah, that's when people realised it could be weaponized. Like nowadays, you can have just a random. It can even be a teenager now, right? Who is
There's a
intent
lot of
on.
teenagers out there doing it.
Yeah, which is. Would you not be rather out playing sports or playing football or playing on your PlayStation or something? How have they got into this mentality where they're trying to infiltrate networks or causing bad for
Well,
no apparent reason? I mean, a lot of them is money orientated, right? Like you said in your previous
there's
point.
money's a big part of it. Curiosity is a big part as well.
Okay.
I would say it's also the fact that the big advancements in human technology have been driven by war. So if you look at rockets, wartime. If you look at nuclear power, wartime. So unfortunately there's a connection to that. But humans are naturally curious, and we try to either look for things or for things we don't understand, or things that we think we understand and therefore look for it. Or I know there's a gentleman who I think he's been returned to the UK, who hacked NASA. In fact, he may not be back. Anyway,
Hacked
he hacked,
NASA.
he hacked NASA a number of times looking for proof of aliens.
Wow.
And that's, yeah, obviously, I'd love to know what actually happened at Roswell. I'd love to know what there actually is. There's so much. Are we alone? I've got no idea. I'd like to think not, but
Was he successful?
Yes.
So if you were NASA,
But
then
then
would
he was
you
found.
not? Yeah, no, he's found, which I think obviously is a good thing. But if you were NASA, would you not be okay? Look, you've done something illegal. You've done something very wrong. However, bit of leniency here. Will you help us and tell us how you got into our system so that we can improve them for next time?
People used to do that. There was a bank that did this back in the 90s, I believe, where someone in the US got into a bank and wrote a script to take 0.5% of everyone's interest in their accounts and dump it into another account. And he only got caught because there was this curmudgeonly old man who was sure the bank was stealing money from him, and was able to work out that 0.5% had gone, and went to the bank complaining, and the bank went, hold on a second. And it then went across. You also got people like Kevin Mitnick, who's a famous hacker, and he was very good with social engineering, and it became a career for him, teaching people how to guard against social engineering and the like.
So, but that doesn't seem to happen these days. If anyone infiltrates your network or manages to hack you, it's law. You will be punished rather than before you go to prison. How did you help her? How did you do that?
Well, probably because most of us will have the ability to track where they've gone. So via logs, via systems, we have red teams running, we have purple teams running. So the whole red, purple, blue, etc. So the red team are attackers, the blue team are defenders. So the blue team's like the SOC, the Security Operations Center. They're the home team, and then you have the red team who are attackers. Now, if you mix red and blue, you get purple. And so you have a purple team that does both. And that's what I prefer. So you have, 1 month they're red, 1 month they're blue. And whatever they've learnt in the red, they then take into the blue and try to make that better. And so that's the kind of thing. Which is why, going back to Sam's stuff, we need to know exactly what we have out there. How do we look after something if we don't know what's there? That's why we need to be so working closely with people like your good self to go, what is
Yes.
there?
I didn't ask Don to say this, by the way. I promise you. But that was actually going to be my next question. We could talk that. Like, I find it so interesting, your world, and like how it's evolved and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there's going to be like Netflix shows about information security and stuff in the
There are
future.
already, Mr. Robot.
On Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to have a look at that.
Look at Mr. Robot. There was another one which, if you pardon the French, is Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh, is that about InfoSec?
There's an awful lot of items in there that tie directly back to my kind of world.
Oh, okay. I'm not even going to ask why it's called referencing cats.
It's really really dark. The properly screwed up stuff, but
Right.
there's an awful lot of stuff in there. And then if you look at kind of the police stuff, or even if you look at 24 hours in police custody on Channel 4. BBC, UK Channel 4 has got a wonderful series called 24 Hours in Police Custody. And they do a lot of stuff in there about digital forensics and the like. If you've not seen 24 Hours of Police Custody, I thoroughly recommend you. Out of all the TV shows I've mentioned, that one is the first one you should have a look at.
Don also works part time with the producers of. No, I'm joking. But no, going back because you segued into it brilliantly there. But yeah, from an ITAM, so looking at the whole hardware software space.
Yeah.
For someone like me, how in your world, how could we sell what we do to someone in the InfoSec team? How can we build that relationship? How can we help you? What would you need from us, etc.? Like, because I find it quite InfoSec are normally one of the first stakeholders whenever I go into a new client is that I go to speak to, because actually a lot of your tools nowadays have a lot more than what our ITAM tools can see, especially to help with shadow IT. Cloud consumption, apps in the cloud, etc. You've got way more tools than what I can see. So your first port of call is sorry, but can I have some reports, please? Because InfoSec people very rarely actually go, have keys to the kingdom. Here you go. You want to have a look in Carbon Black? Off you go. Have a look in there. You want to have a look in there? They don't let you have the keys. They'll give you the reports, but they will not let you have the keys. But how can we? How can ITAM help you guys?
Not only do we have to know where things are and what they are, we also need to know things like, it's really useful to know the truth. There's always this there's his side, her side, and the middle.
Yeah.
And the middle bits that tends to be the truth. Well, it's the same in technology where they'll say, right, we've got, I don't know, 100 servers there. And then you run a report and there's actually 95.
Yeah.
And then you run a second report and there's 101. And it's like, well, I'm not going to take a freaking average here. I really need to know how many servers are here. I really need to know this for change management. I need to know this for asset, for inventory, for shadow IT, for this, that, and the other. And it's that sort of thing that is utterly crucial to us, because if we don't know something's there, or if we haven't found it ourselves, how are we supposed to know? Which is why we have people like threat hunters and vulnerability hunters and whatever else going off and doing stuff. Speaking of which, I nearly got a job title through the civil service, which I was so proud of, and then they canned it at the last moment. It was Detection, Engineering and Threat Hunting, or DEath.
None.
But they tumbled at the last moment and said, you can't do this. It's like, oh man, could you imagine? It's like, I'm looking for death.
Oh no, that is a job title and a half. Death.
Yeah, brilliant. And the woman who got the job would have been perfect. Or she was perfect in her role anyway. But I was just gutted I couldn't give her that on the CV. But hey,
Couldn't give the death.
But no, so it's about finding out what's out there. It's also really good for us to know what's being planned for the future. So if someone's coming to you with a project going, we're looking to do X, we need this, and then we find out from your good self that they're looking to do this, but they've not talked to us, which means you don't have anything around, say, the secure by design piece hasn't been started, they're running outside of normal controls, etc., etc. Somebody's going off half-cocked, then it's a case of, right, you, over here, we need to have a chat, etc. So it's just good intelligence in the kind of military sense. I haven't been military. I've been surrounded by it by my life, but I've never been in it. But yeah, good intelligence around the environment, our world, but what's
the truth.
Not only the truth, or it's like discovering what's actually there is massively useful, and it's just extra lines. It's we talk about lines of defence, and the best way I describe it is think of a football net. So it's good for stopping footballs, not very good at stopping tennis balls. Fold it over. Well, it probably stop tennis balls now, but it won't stop a ping pong ball. Fold it over again. Or it stop a ping pong ball, but it won't stop a marble. Fold it over again. And this is what every single fold over is a new layer of defence. And this is exactly the same of what it is for an attacker. So so you just make it more and more and more difficult for them to get through, and that's the line of defence. In the same breath, that having a good relationship with technology, having a good relationship with ITAM, having a good relationship with compliance, legal, data protection, all the different spheres, you start adding up and you start having
holding that net. We're a line of defence.
You are, seriously. I mean, I say it's like cyber is everyone's responsibility. I'm very tongue-in-cheek that say I like my cyber team to be lazy because everyone else is doing our job for us. Now, that's very tongue-in-cheek and absolutely wrong. But it kind of tells the story. I like everybody thinking about cybersecurity and think, should I click on that link? Has the CEO honestly just emailed me from his Gmail address with a link about his pay? That's all. I really wish I was joking.
No, but no, you're not. That's the problem, and I think it's a start. You know, you say that in jest, but it's not in jest, because the amount of people, even in when they go to clients and they do phishing attacks, they do internal ones, check that everyone's thinking about it. This has gone out. Oh no, the email address is slightly wrong. This link doesn't look right, etc. But then they tell you how many people clicked on the link, and it's like, are you like the MD for UK and Ireland is not going to send you a video of his cat playing with his dog? Like, why? Like, I just don't. You laugh, but it's crazy how some people genuinely still click on that link. It's like, there's no what. You're a grown up, right? You know what I mean? It's like, why are you clicking on this link? I can't get my head around it. It's 2025 now, and the people that are still, it baffles the mind. So you joke, but it happens, man, and there are actually adults, and that kind of completely off tangent, but it kind of goes into why, like, my parents' generation and that kind of generation now, whenever they're online, they see something that's AI is getting so good with people and voices and all of that movement. They see something on there that's giving you bad information and they think it's real. Like during the European Cup, the football, last summer, for example, there was loads of AI fake news things with interviews with the England manager or England players saying completely ludicrous, stupid stuff. But people of my
funny.
But they believed it. They were like, I was getting messages in like family group going, I cannot believe Gareth Southgate's just said this. And he's like effing and blinding and saying how rubbish. He's like, oh my God, they think that it's real. It's like, that's quite scary. So yeah, all those phishing links internally, it would frustrate me so much that people would be clicking these when you're doing these campaigns, because it'd be like, come on now. Yeah, your MD for UK and Ireland is not saying, hey, check out this video of my dog and my cat playing together. He's just not going to do that, is he?
Later last year, I did do I basically wanted to understand what the baseline was if people could truly understand phishing. So I did a very, very, very dumb fish. It started off with, greetings, I am Prince Frederick of Wakanda. And, and then down the side, the start of every sentence was capitalised and bolded, and it said, "This is a fish."
Oh, very good, very good. Did people fall for it?
I won't give you.
Don't give me the details. Yeah, no.
But I will say that. People could understand that. People could understand that was a fish. Therefore, why are you clicking on a link to say that your pay packet has changed from a system that isn't used at all in the company? And it's how to get the disconnect and
Yeah.
how to get the connect
Yeah.
and actually thinking, and that's about culture and cyber
Yeah.
culture. And
No.
part of cyber culture is working with people like yourselves to build out the capabilities, to build out the knowledge, to build out the expectations throughout the business. Because if somebody turns around and goes to you and says, "We're doing a project, we're doing X, we need this to occur," and you turn around and say, "Has this been signed off by this, 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 and this?" and they go, "Pardon."
Yeah.
Guess
But
what?
I use your same analogy. Everyone has a piece of software, everyone has a piece of hardware. It's your responsibility. You are responsible for ITAM just as much as you are responsible for info security. There's a lot, you can't play dumb anymore in 2025 and think that, my company's given me this. I don't care about it. Well, I'll just leave it on the train seat or whatever. It's like, no, that has the potential to have so much access into things you don't have access to. And that was going to go to another point that ITAM works closely with InfoSec on. Well, from our point of view, we do anyway. And that's when we have new software onboarding, new cloud apps, whatever the case may be, that's net new to the organisation. We've done
Yeah.
our bit. We've looked for alternatives. There's no alternatives in the organisation. We then pass it over to InfoSec to do checks. Now, what checks do you guys actually do when you get a request for a new piece of software or a cloud application? Because I think, do you guys do like a threat rating or something? Are you using tools to check whether it's safe
Yeah.
and okay?
So we're doing it with things like that, so scanners or like that will actually give
Right.
us a response of how good the root domain is, how are they doing their certs, are they doing wildcards, this, that, and the other. Are there certificates? Yeah, even in this day and age. But then you've also got things like interfacing with their compliance teams and going,
Ah,
"This is what we're interested in. Please, could you fill out this?" Or, for example, if you're a far more mature organisation, what do you have in the name of accreditation, such as are you ISO 27001? Are you
yeah.
SOC 2? Do you comply with these various regulations we work in? For example, if you're in Europe, one of the new ones or two new ones are NIS2 and DORA, and therefore, how are you with those? Just an aside, if you've got 27001, you've basically got NIS2 and DORA nailed
Okay.
down anyway. It's just an extra little bit, but no, it's. So we'll then go through with that, with their responses and returns, and effectively make a judgment call, and that's on the risk management side. Most companies that are working are doing a lot. I mean, it's also the fact that, for example, because we resell and we have questions from, say, banks turning around to us going, "Do you have a disaster recovery plan with your key providers?" I'm sitting there going, "Look, we work with Microsoft just as you do. If Microsoft has gone down, they're not going to be sitting there going, 'Let's get Kinley back on first.' There's going to be a few more things in front." So
Yeah.
it's a case of working with both our suppliers and our consumers, our customers, to make sure that they understand about supply chain assurance, about the work we do, that they're comfortable, but we also need to know what they're doing and how they're doing, and things like that. So an awful lot of part of that is understanding things like build standards or what they're doing in software management or anything else like that that could cause problems.
Yeah, there's a lot that go. I feel bad for chasing infosec teams now when it's been a couple of weeks. I've not had a reply back as to whether I can get this new software or not, because there's a lot that goes on behind it. And then you've got the end. You're kind of like the middleman. You've got going to infosec to do all of your checks. You've then got procurement and finance doing like Dun and Bradstreet reports on the actual vendor themselves. You've got the end user going, "This is business critical." It's like, you've never heard of this software until 2 weeks ago. It's not business critical. You've been here for 12 years and not used it. Let's calm it down a bit. But yeah, that's a lot to onboard a new piece of software, which, to be fair, a lot of the time we try to avoid getting it to that point. We try and use something that's already been approved, because if it's only for like 5 users or a small amount of money, your time is probably worth more than a $60 a year subscription for some photo editing software. Do you know what I mean? It's, the risk might still be very high, but in terms of, I'd just be like, let's just find something else that's already approved. It's not worth going through this.
There are some companies out there who ask you the value of the contract, and then if it's under a certain value, will deign to engage with you and say, this literally is not worth our time. Here's the reports or whatever else. Knock yourself out. But that's the end of line. I've got to say, hats off to them.
Well, you're from an infosec, but surely you'd want to see everything, right? If it's new, or do you have that threshold as well?
Well, I would like to have that threshold. I can't see it happening. But I mean, this is a Microsoft subsidiary I'm talking about. So if we're trying to onboard something of that kind of ethos or size, and if they turn around and say, yeah, we're not going to play the game, you can look at the SOC 2 report that will give chapter and verse as to what they are and who they are and how they do it and whatever else. What are you going to do?
It's so interesting, man. I'm very. We're unbelievably, that time has flown, mate. It's been absolutely amazing having you on. I've wanted you on for ages, having a proper C-level, and you heard it here first. ITAM is an extra layer in that defense. You've heard it from a CISO himself has said it, and I'm going to be clickbaiting the hell out of that comment because it just further emphasizes the importance of ITAM. But Don, I really wanted to leave it on one last question from you, and I haven't prepped you for this. But yeah, I'd love to understand. We've already kind of talked about the future for InfoSec and stuff like that. But what do you see the future for IT and technology as a whole? Is it all going to be AI? I don't know whether you saw in the news yesterday, just reminded me of that car, the AI-driven car that was just going around and around in a car park with the guy on the phone going, I'm going to be late for my flight. Yeah, I'm getting dizzy, man. I'm late for my flight. And his car was going around, and the poor old tech support lady was like, I can't take it over. I'm trying to stop it. He's just going around and around in a car park. Like, what do you think is the future of technology and IT, selfishly, as that's the domain we're in?
I can't see it without the human in it. I mean, the thing is, an awful lot of large language models and the like have been trained on human items and human output and whatever else. And even now, they are prone to hallucination. For example, I saw I think it's just before Christmas, Google was claiming that you could get your over your daily recommended amount of aluminium by eating aluminium foil with your pizza. And so you can see where it was going, but yeah, that's where it fell over. So, do we need AI ML? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, because it's out there. I think there needs to be some stronger controls on it. For example, there was an amazing piece in Bloomberg, I think 2 weeks ago, around AI data centers were destroying part of the power generation networks by load and unload, which blew other older technologies like kettles and TVs and whatever else up. and so that it was actually getting a better power supply. In the US, there was a massive heat dome last summer, and people were actually asked to not use their air conditioning so much, so the data centers could stay cool. And I'm just sitting there going, come on, no, this is the wrong way. This is the wrong way. We need to make sure people can stay cool and the data centers can shut down. This is not right. So I think there's a few things that need to be aligned better. I think there needs to be some common sense. There's an awful lot of chasing profits beyond what's actually needed. I'm also slightly begrudging over the fact that marketing hype. And marketing hype is like AI this, AI this, AI this, and so I'm now having to field questions from the board members going, what are we doing about AI? What are we doing about this? It's just not in a fit state to do this. We just don't need to be investing as much time and effort as it would take from a cyber point of view into it right now for whatever we're doing with it. Far better to make sure there's some kind of AI policy or AI use policy, make sure it aligns with the European AI Act that's coming in, which basically says don't use it for nefarious means or anything that is kind of detrimental to humankind. And yeah, I think we need to. I think there needs to be a bit of a draw breath on it. It's find some other hype cycle to get on with it and let it actually mature. I mean, there's a lot of good user cases for it. Just like all kinds of technology, there's an awful lot of good user cases. And without being this old man who's shouting at a cloud, I think we just need to make sure that we're definitely going in the right place with it.